expecting it. I just see the Prime thing, and I'm thinking it's going to be 2 days. And here, all it meant was free shipping. You know, you kind of
Right.
have to read what's going. Yeah, I got nailed a couple of times on
Yeah.
that.
And I bought a phone case for my wife last year, and we got these new phones. Uh, and it wasn't through, it was Prime free shipping like that, but it wasn't Prime warehouse. They forgot to ship me the face cover. And I never did get it rectified. And then I went on to give him a bad review, and Amazon wouldn't let me give him a bad review.
Wow.
And it says your language is not appropriate. And I kept it where it was clean to, I just feel that they could have offered better customer service. And I feel that this place does not deserve a chance after they promised me restitution and never did. And they found
Right.
that offensive. Because that's about, I just worded it as, okay, after 4 tries, I'm not happy. And then the guy had the nerve to text or send me an email back that please give me a good review. You know, like what are you?
Holy.
What are you? Is your name Trump? Yeah, give me after I screw you, give me a good review. But speaking of Trump, segueing in, I hope nobody out there is drinking any Clorox today or doing an IV of Lysol or Listerine.
Oh, Frank or Lou, I'm going to show you something that I never thought I would actually tie with the president of the United States. Okay.
Yeah.
I never in my life, I'm 52 years old. For over half a century, I never thought in my life that something like this would ever be an issue. You know, first of all, I never thought any grown ass adult human being would even consider drinking Clorox or Lysol or anything like that. That's number one. And number two, I honestly, in my entire life of half a century, never thought that I would see the most powerful person on the planet actually talk about ingesting a household cleaner or somehow trying to figure out a way to what get a UV light to go through your skin.
The yeah, and I knew a little bit about UV because I've experienced myself because of bouts with precancer cells on my face and other parts of my body because I'm fair skinned. And you know, he's talking about UV, which is it breaks down the DNA and causes cancer. The UV light, and you know that was another factor. And you know what? And I don't, he had a live. I don't know if it was a little answer session or whether he did his presser earlier today. He said I was being sarcastic and nobody understood me. And to me, I don't know, I can be sarcastic, you can be sarcastic, but from what I understand about sarcasm is you have to have a high enough IQ to be able to do it, which he does not have.
I think he also said somewhere in there that he was answering or talking to a reporter.
Right.
Uh yeah, look at the video. He,
Right. My
he
wife watched it in real time last night.
yeah, Lisa and I watched it in real time and we were like, I can't believe I'm watching this. You know, I mean, it was 2 days worth of. I'm part of me after the last 2 days after watching um, that absolute psychotic imbecile in Las Vegas. That I'm telling you, Anderson Cooper should be drinking heavily after. I mean, even today he should be on a 2 day bender, honest to God, after having to sit there and listen to that, to go have that, which was bad enough, which was 2 days ago, to last night, seeing that shit. Lou, part of me almost wants to watch that presser coming up today, right? Just to see the shit show that's going to come from it. And part of me just wants to shut everything down, turn everything off, and just listen to some Buddy Guy for the rest of the night. I don't know which way I'm. It's a total struggle right now.
Did you see Joe Biden's single sentence tweet today?
I did not.
It was just, I caught it earlier. It was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but please do not drink disinfectant or put it in your body. And they just left it at that.
It's absolutely it's stunning. I mean, there's yeah, I used to bitch a lot about like all the reporters for the last 3 years have been saying this is unprecedented or that's unprecedented. For the last 3 days now, I have just been using the same word over and over again. Right? It's stunning. I I don't know I don't know what to make of this.
I
And
think you got to go to inconceivable.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
No, I knew you'd like that.
You know what's funny? I had to I referenced the Abby Normal from Young
Young
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, and you could see that when I'm talking to people who are just way younger than me
Yeah,
because
it's an age thing because you
yeah,
think of
it
when that
flew right
came out,
past them.
Monty Python's Holy Grail,
Uh-huh.
and the Holy Grail was another one.
Uh-huh. Whatever. I just well, he must be some kind of wizard. I said, yeah, his name's Doug. It's like nobody gets it. It's like, all right, forget it. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, you talk about this, and the red state's still going up in numbers today. And here's something. I don't know if you saw this. This was a post. I'm going to shoot it to you. You could read it real quick on Discord.
Okay.
It just says this is from a restaurant owner in Atlanta or something. It's not a stupid move on Kemp's part. On the contrary, it's very calculated about reopening Georgia. Here's the deal. Kemp mandates restaurants reopen whether I reopen dining rooms or not. I file for business interruption insurance. It does not go through since I am allowed to operate full capacity. My landlord can demand all their money since I'm allowed to fully operate. Furloughed staff that is collecting unemployment insurance have to come back to work or I have to let them go. Their unemployment insurance then goes on my tab. If things blow up again, they are still on my tab, not on the state's, since they are no longer employed. Guys, this is about screwing the working class and small business, not about helping us. What have we been saying all week?
Yep.
Economy over life. It's all
Yeah.
about cash.
It's all about the cash. Uh, I I keep going back to the one question that Al Sharp. I've heard Al Sharpton ask this question at least 3 times since Monday, and I've seen him on various things, and even on Twitter. And there's one question he keeps asking over and over again, and that is, what did these governors know this week that they didn't know next week? You know, they decided they're going to open up their state, their economy. Well, why? Why now? What do they know that they didn't know last week? And the answer is nothing. They don't know anything new. They just figured out a way to fuck people. I'll be honest, it's sort of sad that it took them this long.
Yeah, and there's an answer right there.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's. I'm sure it's tied in similar in most states. I don't know if you saw Pennsylvania's reopening plan. They construction's allowed to go this coming Monday with
Right.
restrictions. So many on a job site so far away. Which I've been on a construction site. I worked it for 4 years. Sometimes that's almost impossible as far as distancing because sometimes you need somebody helping you close depending what you're doing. If you're doing simple stuff that doesn't require certain things, you can get away with it. And I'm sure they're required to wear masks. They're sectioning off Pennsylvania into 6 sections, I believe. We're considered Northwest. Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, Beaver County South is Southwest. And it looks like the Northwest and North Central are going to open first from what they're talking about, because it comes down to how many new cases per thousand is allowed, and that will be for the next 2 weeks. And I believe it's 1 case per 2,000 residents. If it stays below that threshold, you're allowed to go. And right now, Lawrence County, I think most of the Northwest counties are in that range.
I think we said everything but Beaver County, correct?
Right. And I believe they threw an exemption in because we were talking about this for nursing homes. Because of the concentrated, it's right there.
Yeah. So that really gives people a hard time, because if you're working in a nursing home, let's face it, you'd be damn foolish to go to work. But if you refuse to go to work, you don't get your unemployment.
Right.
Would you happen to know who made that thing that we posted about Kemp? Because that's really insightful.
Let me see if I could find the original, because I had copied it.
Because that's that was smart.
Says it was tweeted by originally Joe Fauda, who, yeah, it doesn't really tell you where he's at and stuff. So, this was, he took it from a restaurant owner in Georgia, friend of his or something, who knows, but I'm sure that could be easily verified.
Wow.
And it kind of makes sense when you look at where the GOP is coming from today.
Yeah, it really does.
Pro-life till you're born, and then screw you.
Yeah.
Unless we need you to fight a war, then we want you to join the army.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very obvious that a human life to these people is a commodity, and that's all there is to it. It's just simply a commodity to these folks. But they give you the bullshit of, well, we're pro-life because we want, we're trying to keep the baby safe. We don't want abortions. Well, all you're doing is simply ensuring your investment. That's all they're doing, is they're making sure that their commodity is always there, that they don't have to go finding new sources of whatever it is they're using people for. So in order to do that, they got to protect the embryo.
Well, that, and they're controlling the woman's body. That's all it's about too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's always the control factor. I mean, that's all there is to it. But don't forget, it's not just men who are voting it for these conservatives.
Right.
So the other thing that got me, I did not get a chance to see Cuomo's presser today. So I was curious to see, did you see anything about any kind of rebuttal from that idiot known as the Speaker or Majority Leader of the House?
You know what? I didn't hear Cuomo today, but I didn't really hear of a rebuttal either that I know of from McConnell, because I think, what's he going to rebut with? I'm sure he's thinking he better keep it quiet, or a lot of his BS to get reelected, especially for the MAGA base, is going to go out the window, when they, because if that, they don't even realize that. I'm sure Cuomo's response was not on Fox News either.
I promise it wasn't. No, I would be really surprised if it was.
I'd be surprised if it was.
And I don't think that the McConnell expected to be punched back in the mouth that hard. I really don't. Because he basically said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Hmm. Yeah, pretty much. You
And
know. So,
that's gonna be a real hard thing to rebut, right? He was gonna say nothing's wrong with me,
oh yeah, exactly.
and then he just gets deeper in shit, and he's not as stupid as Trump is.
So I
Should know
just
better.
installed a new toy the other day, and
What's
it
that?
just went off. My
Was
Ring
that?
doorbell.
Oh, was that the beep I heard?
That's what you heard.
It'd be nice to have one of those.
It's
You don't have a an Alexa or a Google, do you?
no,
Oh, Lou, I might have another one laying around the house. I might have to give you.
no, I don't have one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's because I just heard, you know what, I heard it, but I kind of know why it went off. I didn't disarm it, and the neighbor's cutting grass,
oh,
so
oh.
it picks up the motion, is what it's doing.
So it can't see how far away it is though. It just sees motion and it
I
automatically.
I'm adjusting it because this one is it's the Ring 2, and you
Mhm.
could adjust distances, but I'm so far from the road, I have it on max, so it picks up my
Mm.
driveway.
That's probably a good idea.
So that's what's going on. And the thing is, it's hooked. I even got an app on the computer where I could bring it up to see, like when I hear it detects motion, you can go to a live view to see see if anything's out there.
Yes, you have it for you have the app for your phone too.
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
phone in that. So it's you know what, I got it just for out here in the country a little bit. It's nice. My brother has one, and he said, of course, he goes to Florida a lot. He's retired, and he says he knows when they're coming to cut his grass, plow his driveway.
Hmm.
If a delivery's there, he can call a neighbor and say, "Hey, Amazon stopped. There's something on my porch. Can you go grab it?" If he's not around,
Nice.
it does come in
Yeah.
handy. Then like for my wife, then I got to get it on her phone. She doesn't. If I'm not here, she doesn't have to open the door to see who's there.
Yeah. Did they have a sharing thing? So
Yeah,
so it's like a neighborhood watch almost.
yeah, you can tie in. You invite neighbors if they have it. Everything ties in.
That's really smart. That's really I was waiting for them to start doing something like that because that was almost a missed opportunity if they didn't start trying to tie these things together.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
good.
if half your neighbors have one, they can all watch if something's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good idea. Um the the thing that got me really I guess pissed off about yesterday because like I said, I was we were stunned. There were it's very rare that you look at something on television as it's happening in real time and just you're just numb. You have no idea how to react to what you just saw, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
just looking at it like did I literally just see this? Or did I just hear this? Uh but apparently from what I've been told, because I'm not on Facebook, well, neither are you, so this might be a moot point or a moot conversation, but I was told by a couple of people how all the red hats are yet again running around telling everybody what he meant and not well you're taking it out of context, right? Everybody that's a MAGA, I guess, is a part of them is Kellyanne Conway, right? Where they all have to run around and tell you what he meant. uh I knew he it was really bad whenever I I worked today. I didn't hear any of these folks talking about anything, right? So I knew that was bad because normally these guys are just they're talking to him like it was the word of God, and then I guess all these folks that were posting things on Facebook just like the Clorox one that we showed. And I guess there was a couple others that were even more clever. I saw a bunch on Twitter today that I thought were hysterical. Uh, they had to be rebutted, right? With, well, that's not what he meant, and that's not what he said, and then they come up with some bullshit as to what they said he meant, or it's funny how they all. I swear to God, they wake up in the morning and they all go to like one source and say, okay, what are we going to say today about this? Instead of just
they do tend to coordinate their talking points. They really do.
yeah.
I think Fox News has how many meetings a day to make sure everybody's on the same talking point, and it goes all the way down the line through the Senate, the House, whoever it is. Because I saw one of the people I follow on Twitter, she's a character, but she said, has anybody dared go down the right wing rabbit hole today? She says, I'm not in the mood for it. So everybody was posting stuff. And of course, one of the rebuttals was from Breitbart. And what was funny about it was the rebuttals against Breitbart. Everybody posting like the transcript, the actual video, and they're like, "Well, where'd this video come from? Who made it up? Here, listen to it." It's just amazing. And sarcastic, you can tell when somebody's sarcastic. I'm sorry. There's enough people sitting in that room that'll be like, oh, he was just busting balls. But he doesn't know how to do that. When you think about it, he's in his fourth year of presidency. Have you ever seen him laugh or really grin or think about that?
No, never. Never seen him laugh. I've never seen him grin. I've never seen or heard him crack a joke.
Because I don't care what president you look back on, Obama, Bush, H.W., Clinton, when they're doing anything, if they're awarding a medal or it was a speech, they all cracked something at one point and another in a presser. They always busted at least one person's balls just to break it up. This guy, no.
They always made a point of, unless it was something dire, right? Or, where they're talking about a mass shooting or a hurricane or they would always make a point of trying to lighten it up a little bit, right? I mean, I don't mean like they're busting jokes like they're George Carlin or something like that, but they would say something cute or something clever to kind of let everybody know, it's like, hey, at the end of the day, we still got to go and do our thing. Yeah, you don't get that from him. You don't get a feeling of, this guy is one of us, even though I may not agree with him. I always said there's nothing about George Bush that I liked as far as his policy goes or agreed with. But boy, I'd like to go have a beer with him. Just because he seems like the type of person that you just want to sit down and just bullshit with, right? Clinton was the same way. You figure, yeah, you know what? He's slimy, and boy, I sure as hell don't want to leave my wife with him. But yeah, I could go. I could go out and spend a night with this guy. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. Obama definitely. Obama would be. I think Obama would blow you away. It would be very low key, but I think he'd blow you away. But and you can go on down the line with this guy. This guy makes you feel like not only do you just don't want to be around this guy, he makes you feel like he doesn't want to be around you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And this idea of saying something sarcastically, which going on 4 years now, well, over 4 years if you count the election, the campaign, you can't tell me that this one day or this one presser out of all the ones that he's had, of all the times that he's had an audience, he decided this one time when we were nearing 50,000 deaths in this country, he decided to throw a cutesy out to come on, folks. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just every day, they talk about lowering the bar with this administration. The bar is so far underground now. It's unreal.
What do we always say, right? Right, Lou? We see a lot of this, especially with people who have some issues. Just whenever you think it can't get any lower, or it can't get any worse, uh, it gets lower. It drops down again. Just whenever you think this person has fallen as far as they can fall, and you sit there and you say, "Okay, here we go. They've finally reached the bottom.
And they
We
have.
can finally start, building it up and start getting them back to normal." Boom, something else drops. They take that basement and they dig it deeper. Uh, and this guy epitomizes that. I mean, he just whenever you think that these folks can't get any worse, they drop it and make it even worse, worse or worse, worser.
Worse and worse. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I just, and it, at the point, I mean, there's people that, like we talked about yesterday, that were on that swing to give him a chance. And it just amazes me how many people, like you saw today, defending it. He didn't mean it, didn't, and no matter what he does, when he first said he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and nobody would arrest him, who would have thought it was true?
Yeah, who would have thought that he? Well, you know what? It turns out that this guy unintentionally, but definitely subconsciously, has been the most honest guy you've ever seen in your life, right? You just have to learn how to read it, right? He tells all these reporters that you're fake news, you're fake news. Well, they're not fake news. You're a fake president. You know, I, it, I never met the guy. Well, fucker, name one. Epstein. Was the Stormy Daniels was before that. Just go on down the line. You know, this fucker was in deep and tight with them. Whenever he says, "Don't know him or never met him," right? So you know he was, because he's shown it. And every time he sits there and tells you that he either knows more about it than anybody, or what was the one where his uncle was an MIT,
Oh
and
yeah.
they, yeah, right. All that means is this guy doesn't have a fucking clue. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. He doesn't know what anybody's talking about. And I'll do you one better, Lou. I don't think he cares.
No,
Right?
and he knows better than anybody, and people are amazed how much he knows.
Yeah. Right. And lots of people tell him things. Right. Lots of people are telling me, or lots of people are saying, and again, we kind of had that the bit of a critique about the press yesterday. Right. Whenever we said, how come none of these folks say, you know, what about a life that, you're talking about the economy, since when? Because as soon as they say that they have to make a choice between, keeping people safe for the economy, then what you're doing is, at that point, you're equating them. Okay, because whenever you have a choice, you always have everything you have to make a choice about it. They're equal. They're on equal ground. So your choices are somebody's life, or somebody foreclosing, having a house foreclosed on. That's equal.
Yeah, that I'm amazed, because boy, you talk about making a soundbite. If one of the reporters said, "Okay, so what you're saying, and all your governors down in the South are saying lives are worth less than econ."
Yeah.
just to get his response. I can tell you what his answer would be. He is smart enough to know how to play the media. He'd just say, "That's a nasty question. You're from a fake news organization." I doubt if he would answer it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's an entertainer. He knows how to shine
The
the bright
laser
shiny
pointer.
object. But he doesn't. It doesn't. There's nothing under the surface of the water. There's no depth to the water at all. It's just how he is. Uh, his latest one now is, for some reason, he woke up this morning, and I think we if we think about it for a minute, we can figure out why. But on the surface, he wakes up this morning and decides he's just going to attack the post office. Right? Uh he's going after the post office because Bezos is ripping them off. Uh, Go figure. I don't know how that. I guess Walmart isn't, or Staples isn't, or uh, Target, or none of these other guys are, but Bezos is.
Well, Bezos owns the Washington Post, and that's part of the thorn in his foot too. Is
Yeah,
he because he owns the Washington Post, and he feels that anything coming out of the Washington Post is from Bezos. Even though I'm sure Bezos hasn't walked in that post office in the last year and a half.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he hasn't. I doubt he went to pick up a certified letter anytime.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Uh, so he and I believe he said something uh, about, unless the they raise the rates of the postal service by, what do you say, 4 times, he's not going to sign any coronavirus anything.
Right.
Uh, I wasn't aware that Congress was in charge of raising the postal rates.
Uh, I think it has to be approved by Congress, even though the Postmaster General can make the determination.
Right. So the Congress doesn't sit there and say, you know what, you're going to pay $1 for a stamp now.
No, they don't do anything. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I think all they do is rubber stamp it.
Yeah.
And part of the problem was with the post office. I don't know how much you know about the position they're in right now. Is somebody in 2005, of course, that's when the Republicans controlled everything. They threw a codicil on one of the bills that said, excuse me, because they don't want the post office. They want to get it turned over to one of their buddies, whether it's FedEx, UPS, whoever, that says they have to pre-fund their retirement plan for 80 years ahead of time. This is the reason the post office has not made a profit in 15 years, because they're putting so many billions a year into a retirement fund that they know nothing about.
Yeah.
Because if you took that factor out of there, they actually run a profit. They
Yeah.
actually run a profit. But I like to think, just thinking my definition of socialism, when you think about the GOP, is it's anything the government runs that runs well that they can make a profit on and are pissed about they can't get their hands on for them or their buddies. That's my view of it.
The post office, Social Security, Medicare, going down the line.
Yeah, think about everything. The VA. You think and the only reason a lot of those things aren't running properly is because what they've done to them. They diminish the funding, put restrictions, and you take things like Medicare and everything else, they're actually very efficiently run when the proper people are left there. That's why a lot of those government agencies, why do you think those people have been there since the Reagan administration? Because the president, other than like the Department of Justice, which they go back and forth, but like the embassy corps, post office, social security, you name it, VA, military, when those people were put in place, every president realizes, you know what, they were put there for a reason. They know what they're doing. We're not touching them unless they kill or rape somebody, is what it amounts to, or something really bad. But a lot of those things, they're there for a reason because they're nonpartisan. They can tell when something's not right. Example, Ukraine scandal, or you name it, during Trump. And this is what he, and part of his personality is, when you think about it, he's used to being a CEO, even though he went bankrupt 6 times, and he's not used to somebody telling him, "Well, you can't do that." "Well, I want it done. We're not going to do it." He's had yes men and toadies his whole life. And one of these government people that's been there for 30 years says, "You know what? Fuck you. We don't do it that way." That's when Comey gets fired, or the guy from the NSA gets fired, you name it, because they're there for a reason. National security, they're bipartisan. They see Russia doing something, China, Korea, whatever, they're blowing the whistle. And he doesn't like that.
Well, of course
they're not answering to him.
Well, no. No matter how you look at it, Lou, it's little man's disease, right? No matter what you do.
Yeah.
This idea of going after the post office, though, we have a virus. We have a virus that's not going away anytime soon. Okay, that's killing people. 50,000 overnight, I believe. Sometime overnight or early this morning, we hit 50. We had 50 grand.
Right.
Considering that it's April 24th, and this thing basically hit our shores, let's say the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty efficient. That's a pretty efficient virus, right? That's moving fast. That's moving quick.
Here's an updated total right now. I have on this one news site, they actually keep like a running, I don't know how they're doing it, reporting in. So the US, as of right now, 912,781 confirmed cases. 96,040 recoveries, it says. 51,308 deaths.
Wow. 51,308.
Right. And everything that I've been reading is that even if he would have done something and notified the governors 2 weeks sooner, that would have been cut by 80–90%.
Unbelievable.
Because the exponential.
Unbelievable. Because
of how fast it is carried from one person to another. It's 3 or 3.5 times more contagious than a regular flu. And that's the issue. Unlike regular flu, where there are a lot of people who have a lot of built-in immunities because there's different strains year after year. This one was new. There's no built-in immunity. So that it was like throwing a match on gasoline. And can you imagine if they would have waited another week before the governors started shutting down? That number would have probably been over 100 right now as we speak.
Yeah, probably.
And that doesn't even count. I haven't even been watching the rest of the world. From what I understand, just from the business I'm in, a lot of commercial hardware is made in Mexico. Asa Abloy, which you probably recognize the name from being in the business a little while when I was down there. They are real. How would I just read on it? They're actually buying back material from distributors that is overstocked in case they need it for an emergency, because it's rising so quick in some areas of Mexico that they're feeling they're going to be shutting down every plant there is in Mexico. which in turn is going to destroy the supply chain for automotive and I don't know, appliances and I don't know what else coming back to the United States. And this is the whole thing with a global economy is what's it going to do? You talk about turning that switch on. The switch will get turned on if we're able to get out and spend money. If there's all of a sudden there's a lack of product and raw materials, then what? I follow some economic indicators. I like to look every couple of weeks. One of the ones I watch is Association of American Railroads. It's kind of a neat thing to watch because they put out a weekly report in 16 categories on rail freight. Rail freight right now from this point last year is down approximately 27%, which I didn't think it would be down that much because a lot of that transportation is running full tilt. But that just shows you that means supply chain. And one of the categories really down was container freight, which container freight is the railroads hauling it out of every port of entry pretty much in the US, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, then transporting it across the country. A lot of the stuff we get comes through San Francisco, Seattle, and Los Angeles. Baltimore, Philadelphia, and forget where else is another big container port, New York City. A lot of stuff's offloaded coming in there. So, you're still looking at a possibility of economic trouble further in the year.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Opening everything up as early as they're doing isn't helping either, because you're good. That what's going to happen is a couple of these idiots already did it, right? I mean, today was the day. So what's going to happen, and we have no way of knowing, and that's the problem. We have no way of knowing, right? So what's going to happen? I hope to God that it's better to be lucky than smart sometimes, right? So I hope to God that nothing happens, that this spike that we're afraid is going to happens because these guys open so soon. But if it does, we're not going to know about it for 10 to 14 days.
No, we won't. It's going to take that long.
Right. So what's going to happen is 3-4 days from now, everybody's going to raise their hands and say, hey, look, everything's fine. There's no problem. Everybody's good. Everything's, nobody's sick. Nobody's fine. Well, fucker, give it another 3 to 6 days. And then see, then let's see. And then what do you do? Because it's always it's always lagging, right? That we have over 50,000 deaths. Well, I promise you that number's higher right now. Right. I promise you that number right now is higher than 50,000 or the 51 that you said, a few minutes ago. That number rose just as we're sitting here talking.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's always a lagging indicator. It boggles my mind just how ignorant and stupid these people choose to be, because you can't tell me that they're this stupid to, naturally. They didn't get to where. I mean, this is the equivalent of not being able to remember where you parked in your own driveway.
Yeah.
It really is. It's the equivalent of not remembering where you parked in your own driveway. It's absolutely hideous, and they're doing it without breaking a sweat. One last thing I wanted to talk to you about before we call this today, just out of curiosity. I don't know if you even prepared for this question, but how many Muslim people do you know?
A few, not too many.
Right?
They're not that prevalent where we live.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of Muslims running around Mayberry, is there?
I knew them from when I used to work for Coca-Cola out of Youngstown. I knew a lot that, I knew acquainted with them because they had the Arab Grocers Association in Youngstown. And a lot of those people, or a lot of the older ones originally were from Iran. Uh,
Oh.
a lot of them were from Lebanon. Lebanon and Syria were the majority. So, and
Mhm.
actually the Syrians, a lot of those are Christian.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of Catholic Syrians.
Yeah. We have a whole bunch, especially here in Lawrence County, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. A good example is, I'd say, majority of Syrians in this county that we know, the Arab population, are Catholic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Uh, Yesterday, Ramadan beat started. Well, last
Okay.
night actually it would have started. Okay. Um, what are the staples of Ramadan? Now, hopefully, you know, I'm not I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but it's a month of fasting, prayer, reflection. Uh, but one of the and it's an all day fast, right? I mean, you literally do not eat anything or drink anything all day from sunrise to sunset, nothing at all. Then at sunset, you can eat, you can have a meal. And don't ask me what the traditional meals or anything like this. I'm being, this is about the depth of my knowledge is concerned. But one of the big parts of Ramadan is community. Okay. Uh, Normally, I want to say people who are Muslim will are supposed to pray 5 times a day, right? I want to see in the morning, at lunch, in the afternoon, at what would be dinner time, and at bedtime, something like that. Don't hold me to it, but normally around this time, they're always getting together and going to. I don't know if in Islam if it's known as a temple but they're going to church. All right, they're going for services. Uh, that's going to be a bit of a challenge now, wouldn't you think?
Especially, didn't the Iranians pretty much get it the same time as the U.S.? They
Yeah,
had some of their government officials die from
yeah, they did.
it. And you think about it, where's the holy place? Is it in Saudi Arabia or is it in Iraq? I forget their pilgrimage temple.
Oh, I don't know. See
Mecca.
that's
Mecca.
asking more than I know, right?
Okay, Mecca. Where's Mecca? What country is it in? I can't think right
Oh boy.
now. And it's not a little town up in on 88 in Ohio. I can tell you. There is a Mecca up there.
It's in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, yeah.
Yeah,
So Western Saudi Arabia, and they get pilgrims in from every country.
yeah, every corner of the world, right?
They come in for that.
Yeah, they get it from every corner of the world.
So is this going to blow it up here within a few weeks?
Well, yeah, that's my question. Now, I mean, we celebrated Easter basically alone in isolation, but for the
Right.
most part, Easter's one day. I mean, yeah, we have Holy Week and we have Lent, but you normally, we practice Lent on our own individually, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you practice it with family, but it's because normally everybody in your family is Catholic too, right? So it's not, uh, and you do have Friday Mass during Lent, but it's one day of the week, right? And then you have Holy Week, where if you're a really good Catholic, you go every day for Holy Week, right? You'd have
Right.
was it five church or seven church?
Seven churches Thursday.
Yeah, seven churches is
You have
Thursday.
Good Friday. You have blessing of the food on Saturday.
Yeah, and that was all shot to help. But again, we're talking a few days, right? Ramadan's a month. We were doing this whole thing for a month. Even Passover, uh, but it's not as intense as Ramadan is, and I mean intense by the whole community thing. Uh, this has to weigh very heavy and very very uh, bad bad on their on themselves and trying to celebrate this this holy season that they have. This can't be it it can't be good for them. And I'm real curious to see how folks who practice their faith are dealing with this, because maybe the younger folks might not have it so bad, but I think the older folks, that how the old Catholics are, right? I mean, we're just set in our ways, and I not only are they set in their ways. I mean, I have parents now, and I had grandparents, and I have parents now. Not only do they go to the same mass in the same church, they got to sit in the same damn pew, and the same part of the same pew, right? You got to sit, third pew down, got to be the last two, in the end. I just made that part, but they have to sit in the same pew in the same part of that pew. So these older folks who are practicing, who are sitting, have Ramadan now. It's got to be killing them. It's got to be very, very tough for them.
Yeah, it is. It especially like you say. I can remember. I'm a little older than you when the masses were still celebrated in Latin.
I remember those. It wasn't that long ago, though.
Then I remember I belonged to a little Polish church, and I can remember my grandparents when I was young. I don't know if you. It was. I think that came from Europe. The men sat on the right side of the church. The women and children sat on the left side of the church.
All right, that's a little before my time.
And it wasn't really till now my parents' generation where that started to go away. But I can remember my grandfather and all these guys. It would have been my wife's grandfather in with him too, because they came from the old country together. Mm-hmm. That's how it was. You better dress in a suit on Sunday, had your hat, your fedora, and everybody was dressed up for mass.
And the women had like the little white little thing that they put on, it wasn't like a beanie, but it was
little like almost a handkerchief, and it was folded a certain way.
Yeah, I still every now and then will see somebody at mass, obviously a much older lady, that will still do that. I mean, they're it takes them 15 minutes to get into the church and into a pew, but I mean, they still, that hasn't gone away. I mean, it is now, but they're still as old as they are. Is that? So my point is, you just look at how we do things and the traditions and everything. And for as strict as the Catholic religion is, it's not nearly as strict as the Muslim faith is. It's not nearly. How are these folks having to cope with this? Mrs. Scarves, thank you very much for the following. We really appreciate it. We really do on Mixer. It's got to be killing these folks. I don't mean literally, but I mean just spiritually. Inside, it's just got to be making them crazy that they can't that they can't do this. I really do feel bad for them.
Yeah, that's the age right now with this, and like you said, it's they're going to make it worse by opening too soon. Is the bottom line. They have that resurgence. It's going to be worse the second time around.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. Fauci hasn't been wrong yet.
No,
he's gone through how many presidents, and he hasn't been wrong yet.
HW hired him, I believe, in 81.
In 81, so I was still in high school.
Okay,
I wasn't. I graduated in 86, so I was in elementary school.
So he was left there through, three administrations, 24 years into the fourth for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It isn't because he knows somebody.
No, he was like, you know what? We're just going to let you stay.
Yeah. You know what? You're pretty good at this. I think we'll hold on to you. So it was HW, who was a Republican. Then it was Clinton.
Oh, was
Right?
it a 91 maybe? It was 91 maybe he was
Oh,
put.
91. Okay, that's better.
Yeah,
I was going to say
91.
he must have been mighty young whenever they brought him in there.
Yeah,
Okay, so 91. So that was W.
HW.
That was HW. All
Yeah.
right, so it was HW, and then so Republican, a Democrat, and a Republican.
No, it says he's been under 6 U.S. presidents.
It's been under 6.
He has been an
So what? Is it
advisor to,
Carter?
he's been at, well, it says he's been advisor to every U.S. president since Ronald Reagan.
Okay, since Reagan.
Since
Okay,
Reagan. So what? It might have been 81, like I said then.
all right, all right. So you got me feeling old again. Thanks.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So this guy's been around, right? This guy's been around. He's obviously very good at his job. He's obviously very smart, and he surrounds himself. Apparently his department is very smart too because he's running it. He's not going to hire a bunch of jackasses, and yet he's getting death threats. I don't get it, Lou. I don't get it. It goes back to what I said. Well, it's the opposite of what. Remember, I said to the Democrats, would you rather be right or would you rather win? Right, and this is the other side of it. Would you rather get your way or would you rather stay alive? Because that's basically your choices.
Yeah, that's it.
It's that what you want to push your agenda and say, oh, we're going to own the libs. In the meantime, 50 grand debt is a drop in the bucket. Or you're going to say, hey, maybe there's something to this guy. Maybe we should listen to him. And 50 grand is a terrible tragedy that never should have happened, or not that many should have happened. Well, really, none should have happened, but a lot of it was out of our control. Terrible, 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 terrible. Well, Lou, I think it's time to put this thing to bed. We've for a couple of old guys, we rambled on long enough, I think.
Sounds good.
Hopefully, Master Grant and I will be back on Sunday for our Mastering the News. Dr. Dye will probably be with us. I would think, Lou, if you want to jump in, obviously.
What time do you do it on Sunday?
2 o'clock. Yeah, we're here. We'll be here live on 2, and then we get it up to the the pod goes out about 6, unless I just forget to set the time and it goes out as soon as I upload it. Honestly, it's a 50-50 shot. Hey, it's tough getting old, all right? It's tough. If not, then obviously you and I will, and Frank, and we got to get Jorge back too. We got to get Jorge. We got to get Phil and Jorge back. We got to have a pod with both of them on.
Yeah, I know.
We really do, because I'm like, and you and I will just sit back. We'll just let everybody. We'll be spectators for the hour. It'll be all right too. We'll be entertained. They're good people. Folks, don't forget, if you like what you see and like what you hear, please don't forget to support us on Patreon. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. Honestly, it's $1 a month. You'll spend more than that just walking out of your house and starting your car in the morning. As always, also we'd like to thank our newest sponsor, FNX Fitness. Link below, 15% off if you follow the link and put our code in. Their products are amazing. I'm drinking it now. It's what you see me drink every pod. Is there anything else, Frank or Lou? Is there anything else we want to push before we get out of here? I think that's it.
That's it.
I think that's it. All right, not too bad. Okay, Lou. We will see each other either here either Sunday or definitely Monday. For everybody watching, again, thank you, and we'll Master Grant and I we'll be back here on Sunday. We will probably have Dr. Dye with us, and then we start this fun all over again on Monday. So until then, everybody, we'll see you. As we like to say, goodbye, good luck, and God bless. We'll see you guys.